Thanks for joining me. It is Rose on all sides. Today we have a very important personality with us in the studio. And before I talk about him, I just have to let you know that our show today will last for 1 hour, the first segment of it, and at 7 o'clock we have the second segment of the program. With me today is the former managing director, MD CEO Guinness Nigeria. He sits on different boards in several companies in Nigeria. He runs one of the biggest companies that is involved in advertising and media. He is a business leader. It's with great pleasure that I introduce to you Otunba, Seni, Adetu. Thank you very much for joining me, sir.
Oh, my pleasure indeed, Rose. Thanks for having me here.
Welcome to the UK.
Thank you.
This must be like a second home to you.
It is a second home to the extent that I come quite frequently. Okay. And I mean, look at the weather. It's been absolutely awesome.
It is good.
Yeah,
it's beautiful, but it's really hot.
As I want it. Coming from Lagos where you get temperatures at 27, 30, as you come in here and you're seeing it about the same and you're feeling like
yes,
that's not bad for me. But it's been brilliant actually.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, Otunba Adetu was around at the weekend at an event which was organized by Unilag alumni in the UK, and casually he was asked to give a talk, and then he started it casually, and then someone just decided to record it, and they sent it around, and it just went viral. I've got it like over 10 times from different people, and I'm wondering, I was at this gathering. Yes, I understand. I took what he said, but the way it's like an explosion. So, like, when I was introducing you, as I called you a business leader, you sit on several boards in Nigeria, and now it's like we're going to have to include a motivational speaker.
Well, obviously, I discovered that myself on Saturday or Sunday whenever I did that. But amazing, Rose. I mean, never seen anything like that. I was sitting in my room in London and getting it resent and reposted to me and say I got it from like 10 WhatsApp platforms, like 12 WhatsApp platforms, and it's been difficult for me to explain.
Wow, it's really beautiful, and one of the reasons why we're having you on the show today is to talk to you about the topic you talked about. Your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. So I want you to shine more light on that, because relationship, like we know, it's paramount in businesses, in our relationship with people. As Nigerians, relationship is very, very important. But a whole lot of us, one way or the other, we tend to take it for granted. And on Sunday, when you shone more light on this, everybody then realized that the people who have known for 30 years, we can't just be friends. There must be something we could actually share to make our lives better.
No, absolutely. And like I said in that video, the reality is that every time you hear people say no man is an island, it's so true in everyday life, and it's so true in business as well. The truth of the matter is that, in fact, and I know that Nigerians typically always fear this thing. They say, we're almost always in a rat race. Everybody's almost trying to stay on their lane, as like you are doing a normal 100-meter dash. But actually, when you're talking about business, to the extent that you can collaborate and complement each other, I think that you could have the power of relationship bringing something extraordinary to life. And that was the point I was trying to make, So somebody for, 100 years, if I exaggerate. At times you don't even know what they do. And you don't know how what they do can actually be of benefit to you. So that's just knowing somebody on the surface and not building a relationship with a person. So, really, I couldn't have said it any more than I did.
In a society like we live in now, would I say it's sort of going to be really difficult? And what I'm trying to say is, in the UK, people are like just living this closed life. I mean, there's so much to do around you, and you would not even have the time to try and get in touch with the other person. You have to call, keeping a relationship is not as easy back home. I was sharing with a friend, if I meet someone today, maybe I met the person in East London, I cannot meet the person, believe me, in another 5 years. But in Nigeria, I have friends who live in Lekki. I live in Ogba. But I still tend to see them every other day. It's like the society is structured in such a way that keeping in touch with people is sort of difficult.
Plus, what even makes it very authentic, everything you said is right, but what even makes it more authentic is that if I'm going to visit a friend in Nigeria, I'm good to drive out of my house and just hope that he's at home and swing by and say I'm in here.
Yes.
But what I discovered here is that I got to make a call ahead.
Yes.
So he's got to tell me, no, I'm available, I'm not available. And you take a bit of authenticity away from that relationship.
Yes.
The relationship is that you didn't even know I was coming. I come in here, I find you drinking Gary. I get a spoon, I wash it, and we start drinking Gary together. It just builds something that is very extraordinary. So, yeah, I think you're right.
You said your network is your net worth. What is the secret of networking, of meeting with people, and then at the end of the day, leading you into your billions, if I can go literally?
Well, I think the first thing is that you've got to pick who your friends are. And you've got to pick who your acquaintances are. So, again, I could quote all of things that we all hear every time. They say, show me your friend, I know who you are. In fact, some people say you are as good as the people that you move around with. So the value of networking is really about being able to identify the people that add value to your life and then associating with them and creating something that you think will be of benefit to both of you. That's the whole thing about relationship. So so networking for me is really about, you go out, you pick the right person and get on, and build something extraordinary.
How will I know the right person now? And where can I find these people? Definitely not in the library or maybe in the churches, or there are special events I have to attend.
Yeah. No, it's pretty simple. Well, maybe in our world. So I give an example, and I'm sure every now and then you get invited to like a cocktail somewhere.
Yes.
Okay. So some people, you go to see, and I've been opportunity to have attended a lot of events like that.
Yes.
You go to a cocktail where people are supposed to be mixing, and you see some people, they are so happy with their drink in their hand, okay, and then listening to or watching other people moving around. Then you see some other person, in a period of 20 minutes, you've seen him talk to 3, 4 people. You talk to 5, 6 people. It might be 2 people that you think will be of benefit to you in terms of what you do. Then you try to build a relationship with that. That whole thing about we exchange complimentary cards, it's all in service of getting to know people and seeing whether there's some opportunity for both of you to collaborate. For me, the first rule is that I always go with or look for people that I know very clearly are ahead of me in everything. Okay, so the people I think I can benefit the most from are people that are more experienced, probably are higher up in status, probably are wealthier. So my thinking is that I'd rather be the shortest amongst giants than being the tallest amongst midgets. I want to be the shortest amongst giants than being the tallest amongst midgets. There's something they call TAM, T-A-M,
yes.
Tallest amongst midgets. You look at midgets, they're all, 1 foot and all that. There's one that's 1 foot, 1 inch, and he says he's the tallest.
Yes.
But yeah, truly he's the tallest, but tallest amongst who? Amongst midgets. Actually, you're the tallest amongst midgets. So go with people that you can look up to is the point I'm making.
Is it like being a big fish in a small pond?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So, and I think you don't have to make hard work of it. You don't have to formalize it. Let it flow naturally. I mean, there have been times when I will be in a lounge, for instance. I will see a Nigerian that I know, that I respect a lot. And if the Nigerian doesn't even know me, I'll walk up to the Nigerian and say, I know you are X, Y, and this is who I am. I'd like to, sit beside you and then talk to you before we board the plane. I've done that with a few people that I can't even mention here. So one time I saw Mike Adenuga, you know him of Globacom. I ran into him in Takoradi in Ghana. He was, there to watch a football game, African Cup of Nations, I think Nigeria against Cote d'Ivoire or something.
Yes.
I went up to him, I introduced myself, and I wanted to hear from him because I thought there was something I could better. So your network is your net worth. I cannot say that enough, Rose. I cannot.
Yeah, I'm going to ask for that clip to roll very soon
No.
so that people who haven't seen it,
Yeah.
they could have a feel of it, one. And secondly, if you get on my wall on Facebook, I gladly put it there, and on Instagram. And I heard Dele Momodu also had it on his...
I just sent it out. He had it on his Instagram, and I saw 17,000 people picking it up on his Ovation.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, on his Ovation Instagram page. Yeah.
You know, it's just those things that that we do by the wayside that come out and become so big when we expect it.
For me, it was just very natural.
But you know, the important thing about it is that people needed to hear that. We needed to hear that, especially us Nigerians who are here. And you were targeting us, telling most of us that we are close to retirement.
Truth is bitter.
And you know, a lot of Nigerians would love to go back home. They want to go and set up a business. I remember in 2015 when the president of Nigeria had a one-to-one with most of the community leaders here, and most of them talked passionately how they want to come back to Nigeria. So is the environment conducive for them, like in today's Nigeria?
It is and it is not. What I was trying to say by emphasizing on looking at before leaping, if you remember I said look before you leap, is that, and the conversation actually should shift from a conversation of where, location, to what exactly you're going to do. If somebody is telling you put money down and let's run business, do a business together in an untested ground, an area you're not familiar with, please don't go and try that in Nigeria. It's the wrong place to say I want to test market or try something that is new for you. But if it's something that you are very knowledgeable about,
yes,
and you can find a couple of companies that help people to settle. Let me give an example of such institutions. There's what you call the NBCC, Nigerian British Chamber of Commerce and Chamber of Commerce. Okay, they are there. They help people to settle. Okay, you talk to them and say, I just want to start up. They tell you what you need to do and help you navigate the process in a way that you don't get into the wrong hands. Truth of the matter is that, unfortunately, because the economy is tough in Nigeria, Rose, and because a lot of people are hungry, the level of frauds and people really coming out to try to do people is unprecedented. So it's so easy to fall in the wrong hands. That was the point I was making. So look before you leap means make sure you're talking to the right institutions. Don't be penny wise, pound foolish.
Yes.
If you're thinking that, oh, I've got this brother who says he knows about this,
yes,
instead of doing that, why don't you talk to an institution that's going to ask you to pay little money, and then you know you're talking to the right people. Secondly, the point about due diligence. Okay, people writing letters and sending letters is out of date. Go to the office, meet with them, know that they exist, so that if things go wrong, you know where to go back to. You don't go back and say, I got an email from there. You know, cyber security and cyber fraud is one of the biggest frauds now. And if you work in a bank or a big institution, that's by far the single biggest risk area. So people forge letters, they forge everything. Go there, meet them, pay for a ticket. If you're going to lose, I don't know, 1,000 pounds, instead of sending 10,000 pounds, so what? And get to cities physically, then make up your mind that this is what I'm investing or not. I don't think a lot of Nigerians staying in the UK or US had done enough of that before. I think they were very vulnerable. I think very easily they sent money home. Some sent money home for people to build houses for them. Those houses never got off the ground. Some sent money for businesses. They claimed they were thriving. They never saw anything out of that. So gone are those days. Go physically, see the building, talk to institutions, do less of talking to individuals, and then see where that takes you.
Family members.
Family members especially. Yes. You know, family members, no matter how much of a family member you are to them, they are hungry means they are hungry. Yeah.
That is, my next question to you is actually going to be like when you're networking with people, trust is necessary. As someone once said to me that in Japan, the handshake means we're ready to go ahead. It's based on trust. They're talking about millions of dollars, and once you shake the person's hand, it's like they've established trust, principle, and the likes.
True.
I need to tell you this because even here in the UK, when you work with some Nigerians, you'll be thinking what you're doing is based on trust and principle. At the end of the day, they mess you up. Trust comes in. And this is really lacking. But
I also say to people, at times your intuition will tell you that this is not going to work. You see, we're always very gullible. We're always looking for things that sound or feel very good. And the people that say if it feels too good, to be true,
yeah,
it might not be true. Okay, so so I understand the whole issue of trust, and it's the reason why you hear that at times, the people that sell land, one piece of land, one plot of land to 2, 3, 4 off-takers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you heard all of that, 3 owners for one land and all of that. But in all of that, the most important thing is exactly what I said before.
Yes.
They need to do your due diligence. They need to pay that extra money to talk to the right institutions than depending on people of the park. But one thing you cannot do is, and that's my advice, you cannot say because of trust, you're not going to go in and see what the opportunity is. You cannot sit on the fence forever. Every day I feel like I should go in, but I can't trust people. Somebody told me a proverb that said that it's like a farmer who says that he's not going to plant yams this year, and they say why? He says because every time I plant, out of the 10 yams that grow, somebody gets to steal one. And they say to you, so who is losing? They steal one out of your 10 yams. Have you thought about the remaining 9 yams that you're losing? So you still got to go out and plant yams.
That's
yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
You have to go. Definitely.
Yeah.
But you see, then again, some people complain, like if they go to Nigeria and want to do business, some of the problems that they tend to have may be power generation.
Mm-hmm.
That is really seriously lacking. Because take it or leave it, the country needs investment.
Sure.
I was watching an interview the president granted the NTA,
yeah.
and he talked about foreign investors. You see, for me, it's beginning to be annoying if we keep talking about foreign investors. They are brilliant Nigerians across. All they need is the environment to be enabling for them to invest. And then the way I see most Nigerians is like, oh, I'm going back home. I'll look at them like, oh, man, that is serious, the way they say it. But then security, power especially, is an issue.
It is an issue, but the flip side to that, the counter to that is that it's been an issue for 20 years, 30 years, for as long as I've known. And in that same country, and with the power situation the way it is, people are thriving. The truth of the matter is that if you're going to go back home to Nigeria today, to settle in a way that is reasonably comfortable,
yes,
you're going to need loads and loads of pounds. Because first,
yes,
you're not going to probably live in Agege, like I was saying on the video. You want to probably live on the island, okay, in Lekki. Maybe they're asking for 2 million naira per annum. I don't know what that is. That's 5,000 pounds or whatever, 4,000 pounds or whatever per annum. Okay, that's there for rent. You're going to your point, you're going to need to buy a generator and all that. So in going, you need to put all of that into consideration, because if you go to Lekki or Dolphin or the island,
yes,
the risk of being attacked by security or having all of those issues you talked about, I think will be minimal. But the second thing is that you must, again, find out who you can, based on due diligence, partner with. Because let me tell you, the future is shared. S-H-A-R-E-D. The future is shared. You need scale. Okay? You can't do things alone by your own resources. You need to pull resources together. You need scale. You need to have shared resources. It's the reason the likes of Uber and
well, like Uber is really making it in Nigeria.
They will make it. They will make it because it's a population of what? People are now telling me 200 million people. In
Lagos alone, there are 20 million.
Correct. Right. So you will make it. So you've got the population. It's a very dynamic population, very youthful. There's an emerging class, middle class, if you face the truth. So
yes,
Lagos, actually, especially Lagos, ticks all of the boxes for a very good economic, activity and to attract investments. But it's just a case of, again, as we say in Nigeria, shining your eyes. You've got to shine your eyes. I cannot say enough. Take out, and I'm saying this without my mouth, be very careful. Be less dependent on family when it's coming to investment. Because when things go, belly up, there's a limit to how much, noise and aggro you can create with a family member, as against somebody from outside who tries to dupe you and can call the police in to try and help you. So again, you've got to be very, very wise in the way you go about business in Nigeria.
Okay, I'm going to ask for that video now. When we come back, we will talk about you Okay,
Fine.
so if we could see that video with the talks that Otunba Adetu gave on Sunday to the Unilag alumni here in the UK in North London.
Bavidi Luxury Hotel, the newest home away from home in the Nigerian hospitality industry. 10 minutes only from the local and international airports. It's the perfect spot for your relaxation whenever you are in Lagos. 24-hour non-stop electricity, cozy and colorful rooms, Wi-Fi internet connection, and flat screen cable television. Bavidi Luxury Hotel. Our exquisite restaurant and full bar are simply second to none in taste and style. Bavidi Luxury Hotel. We are located at the posh serene neighborhood in the Keja Business District. Your satisfaction is our first concern, so we train our staff to be professional and personable. Bavidi Luxury Hotel, number 20 Moshuda Bella Crescent, Ikeja, Lagos. Telephone +234 1291 7929 +234 708 287 7512. Bavidi Luxury Hotel, the new home away from home.
Okay, thanks for staying with us. You're going to have that video soon. I want to talk to Otunba Adetu about his person. Were you able to navigate your way to be a top executive at Guinness Nigeria?
Well, I mean, I think first I give all thanks to God, because I can't sit here and take the glory for what God has done in my life.
Yes.
But if I want to think of it from the perspective of who we are as human beings, I think that, I started very well in terms of really being focused on what I thought I wanted to achieve.
Yes.
A lot of people talk about focus, and I think that people that know me will tell you that that's probably my number one asset. I hardly get distracted in what I've set my eyes on.
Yes.
So I think that clearly shown through in all of the work that I've done to date. But the other thing is that I have tried my best to invest in my growth, okay? So I am a chemical engineer by profession. I went on to do my master's in business administration from University of Lagos. But the truth is that I never practiced engineering for a day. You know, I got out and I moved into marketing.
Yes.
And then, you know, I was marketing director for Coca-Cola in Nigeria, the first African to be marketing director for Coca-Cola in Nigeria. And then from there, I moved on to work as the managing director for Coca-Cola in West Africa, based in Ghana.
Yes.
And then from there to Guinness Ghana as the first African managing director, and then East Africa MD, and then Guinness Nigeria MD, and so on and so forth. So I think the thing for me is that all of that period, even though I started out as an engineer, I sort of developed myself to learn about marketing, to learn about finance, so I can read P&L, the balance sheet and all of that. And those are not things I really learned in school, but over time, by really investing in my growth, as I said, I started to grow in that. So I think a lot to do with focus and discipline, and a lot to do with consciously investing in my growth.
Personal experiences.
Personal experiences on the job?
Yes, on the job, and what can really help in terms of me wanting to build my network base.
Okay, so there's been a lot of things I've done. I talked about some personal experiences already in terms of building the network.
Yes.
But I think the other thing is that a lot of people do things, the basic things that we do, but they just don't leverage them. So the things that when you belong to a WhatsApp group, that's already an opportunity for networking. When you are part of a sports group, like go out to do sports on Saturday, that's part of it. The thing for me is that every time I have the opportunity to deepen a professional relationship with people,
yes,
I go for it. So, and I could continue all the personal experiences, but I think I've shared a couple at the weekend that gone all over the place. So in terms of networking and personal relationship building, I think those are the ones that I would be leaving out for now.
Okay. You know, the president of the alumni mentioned that when he was appreciating your effort for the alumni, that this is the second time they've called on you and you were there. You tend to endear yourself with a lot of people. How do you tend to do that?
Yeah, but I love investing in people. I love giving back. You know, I consciously spend time to ensure that, you know, people around me grow as well. You know, I say to my family that if we get everybody to be almost independent of the other person, then there will be even the less burden on the person that is seen as a star in the family. In fact, there's a saying, I think, amongst the Yorubas that
yes,
a rich man in the midst of poor people in the family is a poor man too. So the reality is that you must consciously give back to people. In fact, when you do that, there's a ripple effect, yes, that's of benefit to you. And so I do that. I love giving back. I do it honestly. I do it joyfully, without pain. You know, painlessly. I do that. So yeah. So I'm always happy to come back.
This is my personal question to you.
Yeah.
How can one bring value to oneself?
How can you bring value to yourself? So yes, the first thing that you need to do is you need to do what I call a CSS. You haven't heard about that before?
CSS.
Yes, a lot of people have come about that. So the first C talks to continue. The second C speaks to stop. The third C speaks to start. It's a sort of
continue,
stop, and start. I'll say a bit more about that. So I almost every quarter or half yearly, I do a CSS of myself. So I evaluate myself, the things that in the first 6 months of the year, it's almost like what some people call, the annual ritual of New Year's, whatever they call it, but I don't believe in that.
Okay, that's the new... There's a word now.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Some type of like a New Year's resolution or whatever
yes,
they call
New Year
it.
resolution, yes.
But the one I'm talking about is that you analyze yourself and put a mirror in front of yourself, Rose, and say, if I want to be brutally honest with myself,
yes, what
am I doing that I'm doing well so far? Oh, I go out and mix with people. I read business books. I'm growing myself and all of that. continue those ones. That's what the C is for. What are the things that I've done these past 6 months that haven't served me well?
Yes.
Too much gossiping. A lot of people spend time on the phone. Gossiping. Things that don't add value. Your question was, what do I do to add value to myself?
Yes.
So eliminate all of those things that don't transform you. Most times Nigerians were looking for incremental stuff when you should be looking for transformational things. So you gossip, you talk here. That cannot be of value. So know what to stop. Yes. And then what are the things that you have not been doing?
Okay. I think you have a caller. I'm sorry, I need to cut you there.
Okay, then.
Okay, Abdul. Hello, Abdul. Thanks for joining us. Let's have your contribution.
Hello.
Yes, Abdul. Thanks for calling in.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Where are you calling from?
Hello. Hello.
Abdul, I can hear you. Hello, Abdul. Do I still have Abdul with me? I think Abdul is gone. But just try and call us back, Abdul. Thank you. Yes, sir.
And so, if you are very honest with yourself, and like I talked about putting a mirror in front of yourself.
Yes.
Okay, and do a thorough analysis of how far you're going on the journey. I think you will know what things to eliminate and what things to start doing that will create that value on yourself. So that's the first thing. Do a very honest analysis of who you are on the journey as of that day. The second thing, I've said it before, by God, know who to move with. Okay, I can't say that enough. But there's something else that I see that people do a lot that I want to challenge people to try to do less of. A lot of times we analyze things and overanalyze things. It's one of the things that I don't do. There's a saying that people talk about. They say less is more.
Yes.
Less is more means a few things could give you a much bigger impact. I've had somebody, especially in this UK, every time I come to this UK, somebody, a couple of people you talk to today, they say they are in IT. The next thing they are in catering. The third day they are in whatever. Why, for God's sake, would you not say, here's who I am, and these are the things I'm going to focus on? Because less is more. Okay. You don't spread yourself too thinly.
Yeah.
So that's something else that I think that you need to focus. I think we have a caller again.
Yeah. Hello, Abdul is back. Hello, Abdul. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Abdul. Thanks for calling back. Go ahead with your contribution.
Hi, Seni. I've been listening to your comments, and I have to say they are very, very inspiring. I particularly like what you said about DSF. Continue, stop and start. That's very, 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 very. That was a very, very, very managerial way of putting it. So I've been doing it, but on a very informal basis. So I'm very glad to hear someone like you actually confirm what I've been trying to do for myself over the past few months and years. So my main question to you today is, we all inevitably experience failures or setbacks at certain points in time. What would your main advice be to anyone who experiences any kind of failure or setback? How do you dust yourself off and come back again and sort of realign yourself with where you are supposed to be?
Oh, that's a brilliant question.
Yes.
And if I said to you, if I sat here and said to you that, I haven't experienced any failures, obviously that you should know that that's not true. But the one thing that is clear is that, and I'm not going to quote all of the things that you hear all the time, but in every time that you fail, I can bet you that there's a couple of learnings you would have taken from that. I can share, one or two times that I failed, and I just took it in the chin and I got up. But in that, I got things that actually were useful for me in then growing and making things happen. Look, I have launched brands in the course of my career. If you hear, there's what you call Fanta Chapman that was launched many years ago. I was in Coca-Cola, I was the brand manager for that. And the thinking was, the insight I had was, look, Chapman is actually doing well in hotels. Okay, people are buying it and drinking it. Okay, so why can't I put it in a package bottle so they don't need to do the mixing and all of that? But actually, unfortunately, it didn't work because the reality was what people loved was the occasion that was created by the mixing it and the umbrella you had on top of, that little umbrella you had on top of it and the lemons you had on it. And I couldn't put that in a bottle and say, this is something Chapman.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it didn't work out. But then, to the glory of God, as the managing director, CEO of Guinness, okay, I launched Origin in Nigeria, and Origin blew almost every brand known in Nigeria in terms of innovation away. Yeah. Okay, it just blew everybody away. I mean, the quantity of sales on Origin at the time we launched it was probably bigger than most of the brands that you hear about that are popular. I don't want to mention their names. Yes. And it was because after I failed with that first one that I learned, okay, there were things I said, you should have gotten, it's not about the brands, about the consumer, getting a deep understanding of what the consumer truly enjoys, as against assuming that it's the drink. Is what keeps you going. Let me give you an example, if we agree with that, just to know about how when you learn about something, you can also know what to do. There was a time I was brand manager for Coca-Cola in Nigeria, and we found that Coca-Cola was doing very well with the male consumers, but it wasn't doing well with females. Oh. Yeah, a lot of people that were drinking, the females probably preferred at that time preferred Fanta and other things. But Coca-Cola as a brand was very, very popular with the males. So we sat in the room, the boardroom, with my team. Instead of deciding to go outside and talk to the consumers and understand why the males preferred it and all that. We just as some smart guys among my staff just say, oh, I know why. We say, why? He said, because every single consumer activity that we do is targeted at the male consumers. So our football sponsors Super Eagles, Flying Eagles. And they say, yeah, that's so true. He said, so what we need to do then is, let's go ahead and sponsor the female football as well. Everybody said, yeah, brilliant.
True.
True, you said too. So we brought in the national team, I think it was the national team of Ghana, the female national team of Ghana, and got them to play against Nigeria's female national team called the Falcons, Super Falcons, against, I can't remember what, the Black Queens. Yes, the stadium was full on the day, but the only 22 ladies that were there were the ones that were kicking the ball. It was still men across the stadium. Exactly. So when we say, what's going on? The females say, what are you thinking about? Football is football. Whether it's played by men or dogs, it's football at the end of the day. That's not me. So we assumed again that we understood the consumers. What's the point I want to make out of that? I failed there, but the reality was that taking that out, when I was then doing something for females in Nigeria, I got the understanding and the insights that I needed to use to win against consumers. So I said to Abdul, failing is part of the fact. If you have not failed, you have not grown.
True.
I repeat, if you have not failed in anything, honestly, Rose, Abdul, you have not grown. Because there is nothing that is bigger than personal experience. People say, when somebody falls, you learn from it. You learn, the biggest learning you can have is when that failure is one that you experience yourself. Because you know what the pain points are. And chances are that those pain points are not pain points you will gloss over when you're on the same path or on the same journey for another creation. So that's what I've failed many times. But to God's glory, every time I've failed, what has come out of that is so much, much bigger in terms of impact and outcome than what made me fail.
Abdul, I hope you answered your question. Abdul. Okay, Abdul is gone. But I'm sure he got that. And of course, I don't know if we could have that video now. In that lovely garden with Unilag alumni here in the UK. Okay, Uche has just told me that the video is not yet ready and it's coming back. But I'm going to ask you this question about what do you intend to do now after this video went viral? What was your reaction first, and then are you intending of getting into motivational speaking?
Well, in fact, it's not so much as my reaction as the reaction of people on it and the advice they're giving as a result of that.
Okay.
What has come through from a lot of people, and actually some of them some CEO friends of mine, is that apparently from what we saw with that video, there's a gap, okay, amongst Africans, whether at home or in the diaspora. Yes, around some content on leadership, okay, and the reason is that the way they call it out is that what you experience with people telling their personal story, okay, cannot be compared with what you read about in the books about leadership.
Yes.
What has come through from a lot of people, to answer your question about that video, is the fact that it was authentic, it was not scripted,
Yes.
it was not scripted, it was authentic, and it was a story, or it was stories that were told about personal experiences. So what I've discovered out of that is that people are yearning for more of that, and therefore when I get back to Nigeria, I need to really think deeply and see whether, you know, I could create a time, if it's once a month, and maybe just talk through my experience. Don't forget actually that up until January this year, I was writing for the Punch newspapers. Then suddenly I had to say to them that I ran out of time because I got into so many other things. So I've got a lot of materials where I've written on leadership for like 2 years, every week for 2 years. So that's 104. You
can compile that into a book.
Definitely. So that's on the card. And what is also on the card, obviously, is the possibility that I could pick some of those and then speak and record video clips that I can share with people and just speak about leadership in the context of Africa, which is not something, hopefully, that people can read about in books.
Leadership in context of Africa.
Context of
What's
Africa.
your opinion about that so far?
Unfortunately, we've got a long way to go in terms of leadership in Africa. I think and it's getting worse. We're getting to a place where people don't understand what leadership means anymore. Leadership for me is really not so much about telling people what to do or giving statements to people. It's about inspiring the greatness of people and helping them to be at their best in everything they do. The reality is that a lot of Nigerians' heads are down at this moment. Nigerians' heads are down. Nigerians are not happy. The motivation level is low because the economy is tough. A lot of them are thinking that it's difficult to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I think we need to sort of up our game in terms of leadership. Really think about people, inspire them, create greatness in them, and let them get attention. I think that's what I see in terms of the gap in leadership in Africa, and I think not just in Nigeria, by the way. I think it's the same in a number of African countries, unfortunately. So, so we have a tough task ahead of us.
But how did we get here?
Everybody.
In your opinion, because you're in the private sector.
Yes.
How do you encounter or maybe have opportunities whereby you tend to talk to those in power or in political offices and try to liaise with them and let them know the challenges you're facing? Yeah,
of course you must expect that I do that. I mean, I've had meetings with people at the highest level, like I can't obviously begin to mention here now. I think, in fairness, I think they appreciate the situation, but I think we're dealing with an endemic issue here. And it's gone so deep that it's a question of, exactly to your point, you're asking for how did we get here? The bigger question for me is how can we get out of here? Okay, we are here. How we go here, we all know it's bad, it's sad, but more importantly, how do we come out of here? The reality is that because our society is so status-driven, because we celebrate, wealth in whatever form, ill-gotten wealth, well-gotten wealth, if I say it that way. The truth of the matter is that we've lost our values, and until we get a reorientation that brings back our values and let people see between the lines and say, this one I can celebrate, this one I can't celebrate, the coming out of it is going to be very difficult. We're a very aspirational community in Nigeria. We're so status-driven. In fact, somebody was saying to me that if you see a T-shirt on a Ghanaian and you say to the Ghanaian, I like your T-shirt, the Ghanaian will say, my brother gave it to me.
Yes.
If you see the same T-shirt on a Nigerian and you say, I like your T-shirt, the Nigerian will likely say, oh, this one, I have 10 more like that. I mean, who's asking how many more he has? So we're very status-driven as Nigerians. So getting out of it is going to be difficult.
So you think that's bad?
I think to the extent that it speaks to arrogance and unnecessary image propagating, agenda. I want you to know I'm a big man. Is the reason I tell you Is it only this one you've seen? I've got a dozen more like that. I don't think that's said in
Or what if they say, oh, I got this in Paris, I got this in Dubai, and of course there are 10 more like that.
It's along the same lines. It's along the same lines of being status driven. I mean, I say to people that, another joke about that is the fact that if you go to Nigeria is the only place I know that a person, I mean, yes. they say there's no, I tell you, I was at in London, I think Atlanta, so many years back, yes. And there was a campaign somebody was talking about, and I was saying that campaign was not going to be successful, and he said, what do you mean by that? And the campaign was, image is nothing, thirst is everything.
Yes.
Obey your thirst, drink whatever that product was. Now, I said to them that in Nigeria, image is everything. Image is the reason that a guy who is not, who doesn't have a job, wants to get married, goes to borrow money to go and rent a big car, a Mercedes, a Range Rover, to take to the wife's house or the bride's house for introduction. If that's not image, what is that? You see somebody that lives in Mushi, in Nigeria, you ask him where he lives, he will say near Surulere. Does Mushi not have a name? Or he lives in Isaleko, where you ask him where does he live, he says on the island. He's not lying. Isaleko is on the island, but the point is that, he's very conscious of his image. So we're so image driven, and that explains why we are in this trouble. And the question is, how do you come out of that?
You could say a papa or something.
No, you just say mainland. You say you say near Surulere or near whatever. So we're very, very image driven. Is the point I'm making. Almost in a negative way. Is the reason that we almost we stop at nothing as Nigerians to get wealth and be able to live and showcase that lifestyle, and that's much of a shame. That's much of a shame.
And hopefully we would get ourselves out of it.
We should get out of it. We need more private sector people to come into public service. We need them to create, to start thinking more about governance. We need the society to be more, less celebratory of people whose source of wealth you cannot
but people would ask how multinational companies are making it in Nigeria. I know they've got big budgets to work with, but managing around, you must be meeting certain stumbling blocks.
It is tough for them. It's tough, especially in many respects. The regulatory environment has been quite tough for them. So a lot of multinational companies complain about taxes left, right, and center. People talk about the challenges at the ports, clearing things from the ports, so a lot of issues to do with, forex and all of that, although that to a lesser extent now. But the truth of the matter is that it is tough. And when you talk about the ease of doing business and how Nigeria is still ranked, I think 147th or something like that, still shows that, there's really, 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 really a big challenge that we're dealing with in Nigeria. So it's tough for them, but the truth of the matter is that a lot of them have operated in Nigeria for donkey years, 60 years and above. So they've been there through thick and thin. They've seen all the cyclical, lives of Nigeria. When there's a bump, when there's a trough, I think they know how to hang in there.
Okay.
But with you as an SME, with your little resources, a bad year, a couple of bad years can get you out of business.
Out of business.
Yeah, that is
and interest rates in the bank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's really challenging.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I must say thank you very much for
joining us. My pleasure.
When you come to the UK again, we're going to seize the opportunity to speak with you.
Absolutely. And when you guys find yourselves in Nigeria, you must come over and see us in our office in Nigeria. Thank you so much for having me here.
We would love to.
Thank you.
We would love to.
Pleasure.
Okay, viewers, have been speaking with Otunba, Seni, Adetu. I don't know how I was able to just lock that name up.
You tried. You've done well. You've done very well.
Okay, he's the former managing director and CEO of Guinness Nigeria. Like you've been hearing him say, business leader, and he was the brand manager for Coca-Cola. Impressive profile you have there. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, so we're going to be ending the show now, and of course by 7 we will be having discussions with the IPOB deputy leader. Let us talk about what IPOB is doing, their actions across the globe, how they went to, okay, of course you know what they did to the former deputy Senate leader Ikekwe Madu in Germany, and how they have stood outside the ambassador's residence in Japan wanting to meet, they said, have words with Mr. President. So we'll be meeting with one of their leaders later on the show, and also Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki. They will all be here